Geoff's Wonderland.
And welcome to the Wonderland, the only place absolutely anywhere in the known universe where you can hear exactly what you're about to hear, exactly the way you're about to hear it. And I challenge anyone to prove me wrong on that one. Anyway, here I am again, folks, with another unexpected episode, but they're all unexpected these days, aren't they? And I actually kind of like that because I figure that from a listener's perspective, it's always nice to get a surprise. I mean, if you know, for example, that it's Friday and every Friday there's a new episode of this or of that or of the Wonderland, it kind of takes an element of mystery out of things. And I think given that it's the Wonderland, it should come with a sense of wonder, built in. As in, I wonder when the next episode is going to be. Or even, I wonder if the next episode is going to contain anything worth listening to. Well, you can forget about that last one because that's not happening. Anyway, look, mystery is good. If we're talking about a positive thing, which hopefully the Wonderland is, in relative terms. For example, you wouldn't want your house to be mysteriously burned down or to mysteriously lose your job or to mysteriously look into your fridge or your bank account and find either or both completely empty, would you? Or to find that you've mysteriously acquired a chronic skin condition or a new cat. No, I believe those are not the types of mysteries that you want, except possibly for the cat if you like cats. But if a new episode of The Wonderland mysteriously turns up, you can take tremendous pleasure in either listening to it or choosing to ignore it. Am I right? Yes, of course I am. And so I rest my case. Now, there are certain subjects which we as human beings find ourselves often talking about with one another more than any of the others. But I think there's one which is way out there in front of the pack in terms of popularity and frequency. But in order for me to tell you what it is, and in accordance with the international law and recent United Nations amendments, we will now put on our helmets and flak jackets and proceed cautiously into the disputed territory of the first regular segment of our show, which is, of course, Theory Time.
Yo, you can't know what you can't know. I'm going to tell you what I think I know. And I know what I know. This is what I know. Theory Time.
And welcome to Theory Time. So, now that we're here, let's talk about the weather. No, because that's really what I want to talk about. Not the weather per se, as in what the weather's like where you are or where I am. Actually, it's crap. That's what it is. But weather as a choice of conversational material. Now, one of my favourite bands, Crowded House, released a song 32 years ago in which they cheerfully suggested that wherever you choose to travel, you unwittingly take meteorological conditions with you. Now, whilst songwriter Neil Finn didn't mean to suggest that premise literally and was actually referring metaphorically to personal melancholia, the lyric still tends to ring true on several different levels, which I think is a hallmark of really good songwriting. So well done, Neil. But weather is, of course, something that we can't do anything about in the moment, short of putting on a coat or gloves or wet weather gear or sunscreen or a hat, and so on and so on and so on. But ironically, it's also something that hopefully most of us will admit that we are indirectly responsible for as a species, given the way we've spent most of the last century influencing it by pouring huge amounts of shit, that rhymes, into our own atmosphere in the name of progress and development and, it must be said, profit. But for now, look, I don't want to get bogged down into the ecological side of things, but more as to why we feel the need to keep spending so much time talking about it. Are we really that bored? And wouldn't you think that it's pointless to talk about something that, with the exception of cloud seeding, no single person on the planet has any control over? Well, you might indeed. But I would like to posit the notion that this is exactly why we talk about it so much. Because It's one of the few things that you can complain about as bitterly as you like that won't offend anybody at all, because nobody can be deemed personally responsible for any of it. And so it's a totally safe, inoffensive, child-friendly subject for endless whinging, regardless of your culture, your background, your colour, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your musical taste, your stance on tattoos, your politics, your shoes, or your religious beliefs. It's also one that everyone can relate to, because we are all, to some degree, subject to the whims of meteorology. That is, unless, of course, we live indoors our entire lives. So, having established that, what would be a useful takeaway from my observations here today? Well, mostly, I suppose, to just have at it. Because sometimes we do need to vent, and the weather is always at our disposal for this purpose. You know, it's much better than kicking the dog or punching someone or road rage. But also, let's remember that the global weather is changing, and I believe we are complaining more about it than we ever have done, not least because of the consequences of it doing so. I'd also suggest that anyone who denies this has their head in the sand, and I truly believe that any politician who denies it should be ashamed of themselves and is completely unfit for office of any kind, as most of them already are. Right, folks?
This is what I know. Theory time.
And that's it for Theory Time, whether you like it or not. Get it? Whether you like it or not. Yeah, that was pretty good. Anyway, on with the show, and now that the clouds have mysteriously vanished, I believe it's time for Song of the Day, which I probably should explain to those of you who have recently joined me here on the Wonderland, has always been a part of the show because, as a musician, songwriter, and music addict myself, I reckon there's a lot of excellent music out there which you might never hear, because it's drowned out by everything being pushed in your face by the major record companies. So this is my humble attempt to showcase stuff that I've discovered that I like and which might not get a lot of exposure, but which I think is absolutely worth hearing. And as they say, never do nothing because you can only do a little. Anyway, this week's offering comes from none other than Mark C. Cole, who is not just one of our Wonderland approved artists, but somebody who is soon to release a brand new album, and Mark has offered me one of the tracks as a taste of what's to come. And so, folks, right here, right now, for the first time anywhere in the known universe, is the worldwide premiere of Celebrity. Take a listen.
Eerie sense of deja vu in London, where the paparazzi are under fire for their hot pursuit of Prince William and his girlfriend this week. The incident outside a nightclub comes 10 years after the death of Prince William's mother, Princess Diana.
This is Mr. Paparazzi at MrPaparazzi.com, MTV.co.uk. Check out this week's show, live from Bond Street.
Celebrities don't do anything without getting paid to do it.
I saw this magazine, cover front to back with Celebrity. It had a picture on the front of the latest set, but she was telling all the stories that she can't take back. In amongst the other faces I should know, there was a man I only knew from the radio. He was showing around his house in style and trying to forget about the cocaine trial. This is who we're from to get some facts about how to get your children on your figure back. And everybody's favorite host was on page 5, saying how hard she tried to keep a dream alive. It seems like people really need the fix while staying at the party while the download hits. I watched the piece on the center page and I can't believe I thought it was her age. Just so you know, we don't really need to know the things that you do. We all do them too. Don't look surprised, we can see it in your eyes. The world that you see, it's Celebrity.
This is Mr. Paparazzi at MrPaparazzi.com, mtv.co.uk. Check out this week's show, live from Bond Street.
Celebrities don't do anything without getting paid.
Looking through the pages now I'm 26. A girl who looks like 12, only she looks sick. Telling all the girls how to get the look without telling anybody all the pills she took. And oh, there's another player on page 9 saying even after being God, his wife is fine. Seeing all the hooker stories, they ain't true. It's just a shame that Shaggy got the Scooby-Doo. I really can't read it, it just makes me sick. He's coming up his bile with another stick. Big hair and colors really make you shine. How long before you need another line? And OMG, I got ADD. According to the doctor, man, I'm 33. I've got to have a check for all the things I've got. I'm reading down his list, I think I've got the lot. Just so you know, we don't really need to know the things that you do. We all do them too. Don't look surprised, you can see it in your eyes. The world that you see, it's celebrity.
Paparazzi at MrPaparazzi.com. mtv.co.uk. Check out this week's show, live from Bond Street.
Celebrities don't do anything without getting paid to do it.
Just so you know, we don't really need to know the things that you do. We all do them too. Don't look surprised, you can see it in your eyes. The world that you see, it's celebrity.
Celebrities don't do anything without getting paid to do it.
And that was the very first airing of Celebrity from Mark C. Cole, and a taste of his forthcoming album, which will be released on the major streaming services later this year. Now, speaking of released, that's exactly what's happened to Little Kev, who is himself something of a celebrity, following a recent incident/misunderstanding involving a cantaloupe. But the less said about that, the better. And look, we're just glad to have him out of prison again, and just in time to record today's episode of
Good Times with Big Geoff
and Little Kev. Well, Kevin Owen.
Yes, Geoff Healy.
Yes, that's me, folks, and that's me, and that's Kevin, and that's it for us.
It's very uncomfortable.
That's all for us.
Very uncomfortable silence.
It was
very
it was.
uncomfortable
I felt
silence.
fairly comfortable silence because I noticed I have this kind of imaginary cushion behind my head, and I'm just leaning into that, and yeah, so it's a comfortable,
Very nice.
fairly comfortable silence.
I'm sitting on a comfortable chair at least, but it was an uncomfortable silence.
Oh, okay. Well, let's make it comfortable now, because we're going to talk about something that I think you're going to be comfortable with or not, Kevin, and that is the subject of malware.
Okay.
Malware, Kevin.
Malware.
Malware. Talk to me about malware. Talk to me about malware. What's malware, Kevin?
Okay. Well, mal is French for sick.
It's what?
Isn't
French
it?
for sick? Is it?
So the word sick. Yeah, mal.
Oh, okay. So it's sickware. Sickware is what we're talking about.
Sickware. It's very sick.
Okay, so can you elaborate on that a little bit, Kev? Because the folks out there, folks, if you don't know, and you wouldn't, we've had tons and tons of letters this week, and people keep talking about malware and say, can you talk a bit about malware? And I said, well, yeah, we can. So, Kevin, over to you. What does it mean?
Jesus, man, I don't know. Okay, all I can give you a definition of, like, from my brain. It's not an encyclopedia, but it's just my brain.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Malware is an app, an application of some sort that gets into your computer, or that you open it, you inadvertently open it, or clickbait open it, right, and then it destroys all of your information. That's basically what malware is.
So
correct?
So it has nothing to...
Yes.
I don't know, folks. I hope you're listening to this. I mean, I don't know, Kevin. I mean, does it have anything to do with mal as in Malcolm, or what he's wearing, or anything like that? Because I'm seeing a connection. Obviously, this word did not just come out of nowhere, did it? I mean, and
No.
So was it invented by somebody called Malcolm? Mal?
No, I don't.
Okay,
No.
is it something that you wear? No.
No.
And if it's where, Kevin, where is what you find it? No, I just had to say that. I don't know why. I was like, the devil made me do it. Where is something that you have in a store, so stock, your wares, you know what I mean? You're aware of wares, aren't you?
I'm aware of wares.
And where those wares would be, they'd be in a shop. Wares. Okay, so imagine, if you will, Kevin, a guy called Mal opens a store and his wares are in the store. They would be called malwares. Now, can you imagine if you started up a brand new business and nobody was coming in, and you had on the outside the Mal's wares, and he couldn't figure it out because, everything's a discount, bargain price, and it's really good stuff, whatever it is. And then his mate says, listen, I've got to share something with you. I was talking to Kevin, Little Kev, from Good Times. Yeah, I know Little Kev. Right, okay, so he reckons that it's something to do with something that infects your computer. How do you think that makes Mal feel, Kev?
Wary?
Oh, I did not see that one coming. No, that's very good.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. But I'm a little bit concerned, Geoff, because I have a feeling like this subject maybe... Did you eat something wrong? Did you eat some bad salmon or something?
No, not yet.
Or, I don't know what.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Kevin, I've just spent half an hour in two supermarkets, like half an hour in each. First of all, okay, insult to injury, folks, is what this story's all about. First of all, they've moved everything.
Okay.
So you can't find the smoked salmon. And when you can, there's none left. How do you know there's none left? Because they have those signs that say there's none left. That's how I know. I didn't even ask anyone. Right. So that was, and really... that was very inconvenient because I just come down the mountain when I came. I did. No, that's round the mountain, isn't it? Sorry.
Here we come. The mountain when she comes.
No, I'd been over to Switzerland for a walk. Now, folks, if you don't know, and why would you? Where I live is right on the border of Switzerland. Actually, Kevin, you live near the border of Switzerland too, don't you?
I live directly on the border as well, correct?
So,
yeah, just on the Austrian side.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we cover 3 countries without even looking out the window or whatever. But anyway, so I'd been for a walk and I was like, looked at my watch, thought, yeah, no worries, we can, set up a Good Times recording, which is what we're now doing, folks, by the way. And I can pick up some stuff for dinner, smoked salmon, creme fraiche, that sort of thing. Easy to get normally, piece of cake. There's salmon coming out of places that it wouldn't normally come out of. But anyway, Kev, I digress slightly. So no salmon. So I think, it'll be the other supermarket, won't it? Went there. The salmon pickings, Kevin, if I may say so, were lean. So it was lean salmon, which is probably not bad because you've got a fat salmon. Is that good? I don't know, Kev. Is it good? Over to you.
Geoff. Correct. I don't know. Geoff, I would just say that we should start another one.
Should we start another one?
Yeah.
So why is that, Kev? Why should we start it? Do you feel that we have a qualitative problem?
No, it's starting off a little bit weird.
What do you mean? We're just about finished, Kev. We're actually past the 5
Are we
minutes.
finished? Then this is perfect.
Yeah. So there you go. Thanks very much, folks. You've been beautiful. Good evening. Don't forget to try the salmon.
Good Times with Big Geoff
and Little Kev. And Little Kev and myself will be back with more essential discourse on the subjects that really matter on the next episode of The Wonderland. Relationships are interesting though, aren't they? Yes, they are. And they're so interesting that I've decided to make them the subject for today's extra special edition of
Geoff's Thought of the Day.
I was thinking about something, I think it was the thought of the day. I think it was the thought of the day.
And welcome to today's extra special edition of Thought of the Day. And it's extra special because it should make you feel a whole lot better. Hopefully. Anyway, yes, relationships. And I think the more of them we have, the more interesting they get. Simply because when it comes to any two people, the dynamic between them is always going to be different. to a greater or lesser degree, to another one between any other two people. And it doesn't matter what sort of relationships they are either. Business, romantic, platonic, or otherwise, every interpersonal relationship requires learning by doing, as in learning what makes the other person tick. And I reckon the most we can expect from even the very best self-help books on this subject are general guidelines rather than specific strategies guaranteed to work in every single case. Now, some of these general guidelines would include stuff like learning to listen to the other person, trying to find out if there are any things that might trigger them, working out what their real needs and expectations are, reading subconscious signals from body language, and to realise that not everybody shares the same view about, say, what's conversationally acceptable and what is not, and so on. And if that sounds kind of exhausting, well, it is. But very few truly worthwhile things in life are effortless, right? And as I have been at pains to point out in previous episodes of this podcast, we are all potentially kind of strange in the eyes of other people. Now, this could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the nature of the relationship and the dynamic it requires to succeed. And I guess the reason I'm saying all this is that if you think that you are the only normal person in the room, remember that normal, in this case, is completely subjective. And the opposite is also true. As in, if you think you're the weirdest person in the room, you are also likely to be wrong. Because, truth be told, we're all completely mad. Because would the world be in the state it's in if we weren't? Of course not. And then we have the physical side of things to consider. Because how you see yourself in the mirror is not how other people see you. And this has been scientifically proven. The fact is that other people will almost always find you considerably more physically attractive than you think you are. And as for the subject of low self-esteem, well, guess what? Almost everybody has low self-esteem. Even people who are fabulously successful and famous and wealthy. The difference is that those people have managed to ignore, or at least deal with, how they felt about themselves for long enough to achieve what they did. But don't think for one moment that deep down, the vast majority of them aren't just as insecure as you and I. So, what does all this mean? Well, it means that you are just as bonkers, self-conscious, emotionally messy, and good-looking as everyone else. Now get out there and have fun.
I think it was the thought of the day.
And that's all we have time for on Thought of the Day, which is just as well, because I've run out of things to talk about. And that's it for this episode of The Wonderland 2. Well, thanks for listening, folks, and please do leave us a rating if you can, preferably a really good one. And when I say if you can, what I mean is depending on where you're listening. Thanks also to Little Kev for his indispensable contribution to the show. And, as always, I'll be back when you least expect it with another fresh and fuzzy edition of The Wonderland.
Gotta get back to Geoff's